Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you on to our Friday Freelance Friday call, where we talk about all things freelancing. Today, we're going to talk about this phenomenon that's occurring right now, given what we've just been through, is people are being invited back into the office, but there's a few wrinkles with that. Some people over 50 or over 60 are not being allowed to go back into their offices that they came from. And we've all had a lot of experiences with working from home over the last year. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the 5 reasons to never go back into the office again. And, anticipating kind of a lively discussion around that. And one of the things that I'm going to share with you as we come to the end of this, because it's very pertinent on this particular topic, is there's just been released a new infographic, and we'll go through this in a little bit more detail towards the end, by a company called Payoneer. They're a freelance platform, or a financial platform that helps freelancers get paid. And we're going to talk about the 170 new or existing freelance sites out there that represent an opportunity to work on. So we'll go into a little bit more detail on that as we come to the end of this. And if you'd like to take a look at that, I'll put a link in the chat window, and we'll go from there. So let's jump right into the 5 reasons. The first thing is that we know that offices can be sort of a hostile environment in the sense of our health. Long before what we've just been through for the last year, and Corona and things like that, we've had we've known that buildings can be somewhat toxic, just like airplanes. In some cases, the air is recirculated, so it's not turning over as optimally as it could be. So that's a potential challenge. And any of you that have worked in an office for one reason or another over your life have seen somebody bring in a winter cold, and it goes around the office. One person has it, and they come to work because they're a trooper, and they come in, and it goes all the way through the folks that are in there. And this is well known, well documented that kind of thing happens. And now we add to that something that's a little more aggressive in terms of the way it's spread, and that kind of thing, has caused us to rethink having everybody in the office. A lot of office buildings now have a 50% occupancy rate, and that is something that is means a lot of people aren't going back into the office. And so just this whole density amount of air you have to breathe in an office building has just come into question. And then there's the question of, will people be wearing masks in an office building, and will people have the discipline? I've worked in office buildings, one in particular in the Los Angeles area, where we had about 150 people working on a floor, but we were all walking past each other every day and in conference rooms for meetings and that kind of thing. And will people have the discipline to either wear a mask, or is wearing a mask enough for the kind of things that get passed around, and lots of stuff around that. So we do know that for the most part, working at home, you can open a window, you can control your climate with your air conditioning and heating. You can get up and you can walk around outside during the day and get some fresh air, which I know a lot of days that I was working in some of the places that I worked, you walked into the building and you were kind of in there for the next 8, 10, 12 hours. And it was just, you had to take an elevator down 25 floors to get outside and that kind of thing. So just not as convenient to get that fresh air that our brains and bodies need to keep moving around and paying attention and doing things. And so that's really one of the reasons that you may not want to go back into the office. Now, the next one is real interesting, is that you have really proven to yourself that you can work from home. And that is, quite the revelation for many people. Many people were not convinced prior to the lockdown that this was a possibility. And, it was quite the mad scramble there in the middle of March last year when everybody had to figure out, how am I going to work from home? I know that I got caught on a trip in Dallas, away from my home in Mexico, and was stuck here and had to quickly find a place to stay and find a place to set up so I could do all of our video training that we do and all the Zoom work that we do. So that was something that, certainly a disruption. And many people went through that same thing. Now, I've been doing this for the better part of 15 years, traveling around the world, used to doing training programs from wherever I was, setting up my laptop, setting up, adjusting the lighting so I get the best possible lighting. And of course, a lot of our presentations include a lot of PowerPoints and that kind of thing. And so I had already been doing that, but bunches of people that I now talk to on our Tuesday night call working at home, their first experience was with this pandemic. So people learned a lot of new skills. They learned a lot of new equipment. I mean, think of the things that you know how to do now that you may not have known when you were prior to this. The number of people that have learned Zoom, not just to use it, but use all its features and been through all its upgrades as we've gone through that for the last year, learned how to use maybe their presentation software. Seems like I talk to somebody every few days that, always wanted to learn some aspect of the tools they use. And the pandemic has been the perfect opportunity to really dive deep, focus on using that kind of thing. So that's one factor, is that you've proven to yourself that you can work from home. Now, number 3 is you've also proved to your boss, typically, that you can work from home and you get a lot done. And there have been a lot of surveys done over the last year about, are people more productive at home? Are they goofing off? What is the relative activity from that? And there's Greg coming in from Ontario, Canada. So your boss, many bosses were reluctant. They thought that you had to be under their thumb in order to make sure they were getting the right volume of work out of you. And so that's something that they were absolutely now convinced. They have no place to hide on that, because you've been working from home for the better part of a year, and that has happened. And for most people, I saw a recent survey that 92% of bosses said that they thought that they got a better quality of work and a better amount of productivity from people working at home. And the thought is that when you don't have to get up and get dressed in a business attire, and you don't have a 20 or 30-minute commute each direction, and when you don't have a lot of wasteful meetings, anybody that's ever worked in an office, you're doing real good if half the meetings you're in are useful. So that's another thing to consider. And so yeah, it's a great deal. Bosses went from thinking it couldn't be done to, hey, let's do this now. And then the fourth thing is that, well, people were working at home for the company they work for, the organization, government organization, nonprofit, whatever it is. The light bulb comes on somewhere along the way and says, if I could work from home for my current employer, there's probably a lot of other things that I might be able to do for other employers of one kind or another. And over our lifetimes, there were lots of barriers to that. Companies didn't quite know how to deal with a freelancer. They knew how to deal with employees. They knew how to keep them under wraps. They knew how to have them sign non-disclosure agreements. They knew how to protect the intellectual property of the corporation and that kind of thing. But are they? Are you able now to work on your own from home for other people? And there's a lot more people. I mean, many millions of bosses, if you will, who now have in their consciousness that, yes, I can have people that work from home and who will accomplish good work. And I now know how to manage them. And I know how to use a lot of the tools we have, like Zoom and some of the project management tools. We use Trello and Asana and Slack, and all these tools make that experience of working from home or working remotely very much more enjoyable than it might otherwise be. We wouldn't have had the same experience if this pandemic would have come along 2 or 3 years ago, because a lot of those tools didn't exist then, but they exist now. And what's really important about them is that they are enhancing those tools in ways that will make them even more powerful for the remote worker. So that's a really important part of that. And so, just something to consider. That's a great thing. And yeah, Greg says he actually has money in his wallet now that he works from home. And when you think about, a lot of people have 2 cars because one car or both cars are considered how you commute to work. And then you have the insurance that you pay on that car. And then you have a wardrobe that you wear, business attire that you wear to the office. You can't shuffle in your sneakers and shorts like you might be able to participate in a Zoom call on. And so lots of things that are different there. And so having this idea that you could work from home on your own is enhanced by the fact that these millions of managers, business owners, executives in nonprofits and governments, all kinds of things now understand that this work from home or work remotely thing does work, and it actually works pretty well. So what we see is that there's just going to be a lot of people going back into the into their home office rather than back into the office now that they need that next round. And I've talked to several people that said that got called back in the office, and they said, I'm not going. I don't want to put myself in that jeopardy. I figured out how to work online. And if that's a hard requirement of me continuing to work for that company, I'm exploring the path of working as a freelancer very quickly. And there are lots of companies now that will actually employ you to work remotely. So this is a thing. There are recruiting agencies, and some of those will be on this chart that I'm going to show you in just a few minutes that Payoneer has released, and it shows 170 different freelance sites. So the number and the ways you can work online continues to grow, continues to improve, and the consciousness of the people that are hiring freelancers continues to expand, and their idea of what's possible with remote workers is great. And one of the biggest advantages of remote workers is you're able to bring in freelancers during your peak periods, or if you need a special skill, and you don't have to hire them as an employee and keep them busy on other things that they may or may not be good at. You know, if you hire a $100 an hour executive and you use them 6 months out of the year, and the other 6 months out of the year, they're kind of doing work that doesn't require their expertise, but you use them just because you got them on the payroll, you're really hurting your company in terms of overspending really for that resource. And so there's lots of ways now to blend freelancers into your overall workload and move forward in that way. So let's talk a little bit about the let's see, a couple questions are coming in here. Let's see. Okay, Greg's asking what's the best for doing this work, Apple or PC? And this is a very important thing to understand, that all the applications, or virtually all the applications that you'll use working from home, are going to work equally well on Mac and PC. They're all being they all are. So like Upwork and its predecessor, Elance, that I've been using for 20 years, has always been in the cloud. You know, you never had to download a piece of software, and you never got that unfortunate message, you know, this software is not compatible with your system. All this stuff works in the cloud. So whatever browser you want to use is a good one for this, and it works across your handheld devices, and it works across your laptops and even desktops and tablets and that kind of thing. And so you can comfortably use either Apple or PC. And I really couldn't push you one direction or another. I used to work for Apple, and I used a Mac every day of my work. Started out using an Apple II every day of my work, and then went to an Apple III, and then went to a Macintosh. And, then I kind of switched over to the PC world. This is, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. And I never went back. And over the intervening 20, 25 years, I got much more comfortable using a Windows machine, because that's what I was using for the work I was doing. And come to find out that I was on a trip, and in Mexico, actually, my Windows machine died. I had to give a presentation and do some consulting work there. And so I had to go out and replace my computer. And, I bought a Macintosh, and I was, the file systems are very different, and there's a lot of little idiosyncrasies. So I suggest if somebody's going to buy something, they buy something that they're comfortable using. Don't buy something that is, you're going to have to learn the new file system. It really cramps your style, if you have to do that. So just pay attention to that. And I personally, if you're using Windows, one of my favorites is from a company called MSI. They make gaming machines. They cost a little bit more than the average system, but it has typically more memory in it, and it's faster on the graphics, and it has a faster CPU. And so if you look at MSI, you're going to see laptops that go considerably faster. And that, and somebody says, well, I don't do any gaming at all. Well, I really don't do any gaming as well, except sometimes an excursion into Microsoft Flight Simulator, but not even a lot of time on that. And but if you've got a lot of tabs open, if you've got you're doing Zoom calls, you're sharing video with people. That these systems really excel at that. And so while they're primarily developed for gamers, you really get a lot of bang for your buck when you do that. And you avoid a lot of the slowdowns. If you've ever been using a system that's all of a sudden slows down, it can be very frustrating. And, you got to stop and you got to go close some applications and you got to close some tabs and all those kind of things. That's a real big buzzkill. So you don't want to do that. So the fifth reason I'm going to show here, and I think I've got it lined up to show. Here we go. It'll pop up here shortly, I think. Hold on just a second. I might have to turn something off there. Wait a second here. Oop, there it was. There we go. So this is something that you'll want to get a hold of. It's from a company called Payoneer, and it is a great tool to use. Payoneer, a lot of people around the world, this is an alternative to PayPal. A lot of freelancers like this tool to help manage their cash, to get paid for freelancing. They use this tool. So just something to pay attention to. And of course, what we're looking at right now, you probably can't see a lot of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link here in the chat window. And let me see there if I can do that. Send it to everybody. So this is a link that will take you to this graphic, and you can download it and look at it for yourself. What I really like about this, and where they've done a good job with this, is they focused on a lot of jobs, a lot of sites where you can do remote work, and they popped them out into categories. So you can see here the general category. Number one there is Upwork, and Upwork paid over $2.7 billion out last year to freelancers. So this is, no small potatoes. There a lot of money going out, and Fiverr and Upwork are both stock market darlings through the pandemic. They've both grown the price of their stock many multiples, 3, 4, 5, 6 times what they were selling for before the pandemic started. And these are the general sites. And Upwork is the one we like to train people on, because that's where the best jobs are. The most jobs, the best jobs, the easiest sort of system to understand. But I would say that Fiverr is a very good system to understand. Freelancer.com is a very good system. Some of these systems are regional systems. Some of these systems are industry specific. But in the general area, you see all these graphic logos here. And just as I scan through these, there's just lots of good sites to work on, depending upon the kind of work that you want to do. Now, you move over into things like graphic design, which is a little specialized. We don't always, that a certain number of people have that capability, but not everybody. Same thing with IT. Not everybody has that capability, but if you do have that, you can go work on Upwork and Fiverr and Freelancer and all those. You'll find lots of IT jobs on there. But if you want to work just on IT-related jobs, you can see quite a wide variety of networks over there. Same for translation. Extra language skill is not necessarily something somebody has to do the translation, but if you do have that, many, many good sites there. In fact, for most of my time helping people learn how to do this stuff, if they had the ability to do translations and do it well, that would be, sort of number one over all the other things that I might recommend to them that they get started on. May not be what they want to do forever as a freelancer, but translations are in high demand. and very easy to get the ball rolling for somebody that knows how to do that. Then another emerging area is in the e-learning area. And as a result of the lockdown, lots of companies have amped up their training programs with online learning systems. And so this is an area that's exploding right now. And if you know how to do Microsoft PowerPoint, or even complex documents in Microsoft Word, or you know how to edit video, or you know how to edit audio, or you know how to write scripts for people to explain a product or a service or that kind of thing, there is lots of opportunity in the e-learning space. A good place for freelancers to go. And many people I talk to don't think they have the skills to do that, but once they get into some of these sites and start poking around, they are pretty excited about what they see, because there's nothing really magic about e-learning. It's explaining things to people. So that whole, can you make a PowerPoint presentation, a 5-slide PowerPoint presentation that'll get an idea across, or that kind of thing? This is a great place to do that kind of work. Bouncing back over to the left-hand side, there are sites that focus on academic freelancing. There are sites that focused on healthcare, and a lot of sites in both those categories I would put under the content development area. And to me, that is I don't know whether I'd call it the missing piece. It might be too general a piece, but that whole area of content development is a big area. And I see lots of potential freelance sites on here that could be that, where those are included. But content development is a huge thing. So marketing wise, this is also a lot of content development. It's a little bit specialized in terms of when it's marketing, it's primarily designed to sell or inform people contemplating a purchase about a product or services. And so those are some of the very best and high paying sites to work for, because when you're writing something, if you're writing a technical description of how to do something, you're not really that's a expository writing, and that can be a good income. But if you know how to write marketing materials that cause people to be informed and ultimately buy products and services, that is the highest paid form of writing that you can do on these networks. So you see some of the other opportunities here in the hospitality area. Some are in the e-commerce area, and there's a few e-commerce freelance sites that are not listed here that I know are out there, and I know people use all the time. And then you have 2 sites that are, one focused on engineering, but of course lots of engineering jobs in Upwork and Fiverr and Freelancer, and also on government. And this is another part of the world that the idea of ever having freelancers in your organization was not a big thing. They weren't going to do that because they needed the protections and the control of their proprietary stuff and all that kind of thing. And what they've come to find out is that they could use freelancers and they could use remote workers and that kind of thing. So I encourage you to get this graphic. Let me put it in the window here, or the chat window. I'll put it in 170 freelance sites, and there will be more. We're living at a time where these are popping up all the time. And let's see, and then I'll pop the link in there and you'll see it there. And it looks like it's made it over to YouTube as well. So those of you on Facebook should see that. Those of you and just encourage you to take a look at that. And I should say, if you find what we're talking about today useful, I really appreciate when you like us or love us. That helps us share this content with more people on the internet that might be looking for this thing. The way these algorithms work, some people today are watching on YouTube. Some people today are watching on Facebook, and that helps get the message out and show them what we've talked about today, and also the resource in terms of something that they might want to take a look at and that kind of thing. So would very much encourage you to do that. So so with that, that's what I wanted to cover today. Would welcome any questions you might have. And let me flip this thing off here. 1 second. There we go. Back to the living room. And yeah, so any questions, thoughts, comments? Jeanette, thanks for that very nice compliment. Appreciate that. And I know I see you in our private Facebook group from time to time, and appreciate all you say and do in there. And thanks for coming over to this today. Very good. All right, I'll give you a moment or two if you're having a question and just formulating that in your mind, happy to take that on. Yeah, the good news is that the trend to freelance has been accelerating for the last 20 years, and when the pandemic came along, it certainly really pushed that into hyper mode. I remember last year when I do workshops online or in person, we actually show people how to look up the total number of jobs typically on the network that they're looking at. And I was demonstrating how to do this on Upwork. We have do what we call a zero criteria search, which basically says you're not looking for any criteria. So when you search on that, you see the total number of jobs in the database. And I think that Upwork had about 120,000 jobs, something like that. When I did that last, be at the end of February. And then I just did it again recently, and we saw that jump to 237,000 jobs. So roughly double the number of jobs in a year. So that's people turning to an online network that probably never thought about doing that before. And it just shows you the kind of the strength and the willingness to embrace the world of online freelancing. And we're looking forward to what people are going to do. So that is, Greg's asking a question. How do we get into the private Facebook group? And Greg, I know you're in there. We have a public Facebook page and we have a private group. And this, what we're doing today is broadcast to both of those channels, and then it's also broadcast to our YouTube channel as well. So you'll be seeing it both places. So enjoy a playback there. If you want to make a comment, you have an idea, you have a question, be sure and go put that in there, and we'll get to that. We're able to answer questions even after this is recorded live. A lot of times we get anywhere from a couple hundred to 1,000 people watching this after the fact. After it's broadcast live, a lot of people see the playback, and so we like to help them out as well, and so we monitor those messages. So yes, Greg, you're not missing anything by seeing it here. And thank you for your kind words. Glad to help. We focus on baby boomers really now anybody flip 50 plus, their learning style is different than it is for somebody that is, say, in their 20s. And, we do a lot of repetition because lots of information in the learning world that shows that across all age groups, that when you first hear a thought or a bit of training or whatever, that you'll retain that for a period of time. But about 80%, if you only hear it once, is lost within 2 or 3 days. You don't remember. You remember about 20%, but 80% of it is extinguished very quickly. So we design our trainings to, come back around to these concepts, to say them in different ways, to use different analogies. And the results of hearing something 2 or 3 different times, 2 or 3 different ways, seeing slides on the screen and that kind of thing really does get you immersed in the stuff in a way that you retain the information. And particularly for people as they age, memory can be an issue. And frankly, we found that a lot of people that do something like freelancing keep their brain sharp. They're focusing on things. They're engaged with their computer. They're engaged with their clients. They're engaged with finishing jobs and keeping clients happy, and all those things keeps your brain very active, certainly, and all that. So we look forward to seeing you if you're in our programs, on our Tuesday night live call and training and question and answer session. If you're not in any of our programs, you certainly could go to barefootconsultants.com, and let me just put that link in there, and you'll see all about our coaches and our products we sell and different sort of trainings that we have in there. The thing to know is that our 21 days to your freelancing success is our flagship product. We recommend that you start with that if you're just getting going. That's sort of the broad spectrum, and happy to help you with that. And that gives you, when you buy that product, you get a year's participation in our Tuesday night calls. So that's 52 hours of training, asking questions, keeping up with what's changing in the fast-paced world of freelancing. If you have any questions about whether it's fast-paced or not, you just look at the growth of these various networks and freelancing now around the world. So important to adjust and learn and keep on top of things. And we'll see you next Friday, if not before, on Tuesday night. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all of those of you listening to the playback of this, and we look forward to answering your questions as well. Take care. Adios.